now many videos which describe the events of 9/11. Most give far more information than is needed on subjects related but not vital to a deeper understanding. One critical aspect never shared about the World Trade Center's towers lends to an explanation showing the entire 9/11 event as a massive deception, enabling a ruse and theater of politics exploiting America. That aspect provides a feasible basis for the almost identical destruction of two 1,300-foot towers in Manhattan to the ground at rates nearly equal to free fall. It explains the pulverization of the building's contents as well as the superfine dust blanketing the city. The official explanation of damage from plane impacts and fire do not account for what was seen and heard, nor does it explain the physical evidence of the aftermath seen in the images of Ground Zero. It does not account for the pulverization and the massive particulate that rose and spread over the city of New York. This video will explain these events, how they were caused, after exposing the deceptions that make the events of 9/11 at the World Trade Center so difficult to understand. The official analysis begins with the tower design depicted in this diagram. As ludicrous as it sounds, this diagram is about the only official depiction of the core of the towers in existence. That diagram depicts a core comprised of multiple steel core columns. It is a deception. The core that actually existed and can be seen in images of 9/11 was a steel reinforced cast concrete tube. This was originally an official diagram that I have revised to represent the concrete core of WTC-1. The lower half only had one hallway in one direction per floor. WTC-2 was different, with two halls in each direction per floor. Here is another image showing how the BBC thinks the tower's core is configured. We all know this is wrong because there is no place for elevators and stairs in the small, solid core shown. The image shows a post-stressed concrete design eliminated by Minoru Yamasaki, the certifying architect, who found no contractor would commit to being able to build a post-stressed core 1,300 foot tall. There are many text descriptions of steel core columns, but no images where it is certain what is seen are core columns. What is seen are misrepresentations of construction photos. This image is commonly thought to show core columns. It does not. The vertical steel seen is actually elevator guide rail support steel, which can be identified by the butt plates welded to the ends of the steel. The plates facilitate bolting the ends of two support sections together. While this is adequate for elevator guide rail support steel, which will only see compressional loads, it will not take any lateral load. Only a 100% fillet weld butting two heavy box columns together has the strength to be termed a core column. No image from 9/11 shows steel columns in the core area. The images you will see in this documentary are the images that would show the steel core columns if they did exist. They did not. There were columns, but as can be seen with this overlay, they were not in the core area. They were outside of it. No columns are seen inside the core. The columns which did exist surrounded the concrete core and were fastened to it. They were called interior box columns, referring to their position as part of the inner wall of the outer tube of the tube in a tube construction. This image, taken from a helicopter of the top floor, has been annotated, labeling the columns massive box columns. Whoever annotated the image was accurate in that the vertical steel inside the core area is much smaller and is the elevator guide rail support steel further up in the construction. The concrete core was being cast up to 80 feet below the top floor. It was the inner tube. The tower core was a steel-reinforced cast concrete rectangular tube, the inner tube of the tube in a tube construction. Here is the lower half of the WTC-2 standing after the outer tube. The steel framework bearing the floors has fallen away. No steel core columns are visible. First, a method of destruction must be established. This is no collapse, and it is not an ordinary controlled demolition. The uniformity of a high-speed series of explosions and the resulting particulate are unusually refined. These towers were built to demolish as engineered concrete containers for high explosives. This is the only explanation which accounts for all the factors of the event. The particle size and quantity are conclusive evidence that forbid interpretation as collapse. Indeed, the application of the term collapse is an affront to logic and our extensive experience as television viewers of excessive violence. The spire is an element of the towers well known by the 9/11 truth community. This sequence will show the formation of the spire. The first image is an immense explosion which actually heaves concrete debris onto the roof of WTC-7, which is across the street from WTC-1. In the upper part of the image, we can see the spire first appearing. The next image is too low a resolution to show the spire, but it does show a huge triangular piece of concrete from the eastern wall of the tower's core falling into the core area. The spire is the northwest corner of the framework outside the core of WTC-1. This is heavy structural steel, and the floor beams forming rectangular frames identify those frames as the same as what is seen in the helicopter photos and labeled massive box columns. No steel columns are seen in the core area. Another view of the spire, as seen from the northeast, shows the core wall behind the interior box columns, but that is not easily seen. Again, no steel core columns are seen to the left of the spire in the core area. This image shows the western wall of WTC-1. The heavy steel column is on the right. The wall is seen in an end view as we look south along the western wall. This is 400 plus feet off the ground. The broken end of concrete is unmistakable. Again, no steel core columns are seen. The built-to-demolish scenario was accomplished with plastic explosives in 2 explosive circuits and reduced all of the concrete to sand and gravel. One circuit was comprised of the plastic explosive coating the high tensile steel rebar of the concrete core walls. The other explosive circuit had the same plastic explosive in the corrugations of the floor panels. The floor circuits were detonated first, while the concrete walls of the core protected the detonation circuits of the core, which were located inside the core. Security phone lines located on each floor and in the core we used to distribute one signal to many digital counters to start them all counting at once to detonate at different times. 75 milliseconds more count for each floor downward and 300 milliseconds for every 40 feet of core creates a rate of free fall to the ground. The plastic explosive was encapsulated in concrete, which prevented evaporation and oxidization, or preserved the viability of the explosives for decades. This image is taken immediately following the fall of the major spire already seen. The images were taken from the same camera seconds apart. The latter image has an element which does not stand vertically. It leans. Light appears to shine through it. Many small elements are to the right of it and have a brush-like appearance. This is the 3-inch rebar of the concrete core walls standing after explosives which sat through winter lost their viability. Fresh horizontal rebar tied to the large vertical bar detonated, removing the concrete to leave the heavy vertical bar visible for a few seconds. This image shows a portion of the top of WTC-2 falling onto WTC-3. Inside the rotating, falling, narrow-spaced perimeter box columns is seen a brown-colored cube, part of the very top of the concrete core of WTC-2. The concrete roof of the core is seen with dark stripes where steel I-beams cross the roof and join the perimeter walls together. The white color is from mineralization of the horizontal concrete and condensation over the years. The fact that the very top of WTC-2 fell west while the major portion of the top of the tower fell east indicates demolition. This analysis is derived from structural information gained from a documentary on the construction of WTC-1 called The Engineering and Construction of the Twin Towers, which aired in 1990 and 91 on the PBS network. VHS copies were sold directly to the public, and certainly some copy was made from the broadcast. This is video that is vital for our futures. Search for and find this video.